Our speaker today is Todd Funkhouser, who is the incoming president. I guess he's now the president of the Berkeley County Historical Society. He's also, am I correct, chair of the Historic Landmarks Commission for the city. And we've asked Todd to talk about some of the efforts that the Historical Society is making with its records, documents, those sorts of things. So, Todd?
Thank you for having me today. I would say that I abhor the podium. I'd rather much be hands-on out in the street somewhere, specifically Martinsburg. I will tell you a little bit about the Historical Society. It was formed prior to the Depression, although not formally. The Depression, it segmented out back into society, and then it was formally recognized in 1963. So the Historical Society has been around for quite some time. Continual data collection all the way through up to the 60s until it formed with the president and executive staff. Most notably, it came into prevalence with Mr. Wood and all of his work of historical resources in Berkeley County. We have over 3,500 National Register listings, districts, buildings, a little over, I'm going to roughly say 42 publications at this point, 31 area specific to Berkeley County, and then others to do with obituaries, births, deaths. I brought some of our works here. I'm just going to pass them around. Don't get them dirty. Made me pay full price for them. That society's killer for money. But the mission of the society is to preserve, promote, and disseminate history for Berkeley County. One of the major things that is a challenge is what's relevant to Berkeley County and what isn't. That's one of the things moving forward because we are such a diverse community. The way that we achieve all of the mission statement is by a great group of volunteers. We're right about 11,000 volunteer hours, which is pretty incredible. Our membership is roughly, we're in the middle of a membership year period, renaissance, but we're a little over 500 members at this point, and we're actually down from a membership of about 800, then it dropped to 650, but we're seeking to reconnect to Berkeley County residents. We have members across the continental United States and some in Europe. So these are people with direct Berkeley County lineage who wish to support the efforts to preserve the history. So we're very fortunate to have a world. I'm the only organization in Berkeley County with worldwide membership, I would imagine. So it's very overwhelming when you look at that. And some of the things that we've done in the society past year, I've been president for 15 months now. And the first 5 months was allowing people to get to know me. I am not an historian. I have a fondness for history. I enjoy history. I learn it and I absorb it in the day-to-day activities. But my background is business and how history can contribute to the development and preservation of Berkeley County, which sometimes puts me at odds with different groups. But I will tell you, Adam Stevens' founding of Martinsburg in 1787, right up through the Civil War, the interesting thing about Berkeley County is the Civil War. That is what makes us different than any other area in the country. A lot of the records were destroyed due to changing of hands. And it's really this whole secession argument and North and South, but I will tell you that Berkeley County at one time was home to a population of free blacks. There was a free black, 1842, who owned a slave, owned 2 slaves actually, on North Mountain. And it was also a population of slaves. The slaves worked the orchards. The free blacks worked the orchards. The slaves worked the plantation, the farms. And there's that mix. Now they say the Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves, but the Emancipation Proclamation exempted Berkeley County from freeing the slaves. Now the federal troops at the outset of the Civil War occupied Martinsburg. Really neat stuff we're really getting into, but they occupied Martinsburg. Well, about the time federal troops were all stationed around Martinsburg, they had a vote. Should we secede or shall we stay with Virginia? Well, you know, I'm going to vote the way that the gun is pointed. So it was a really interesting twist on the society. Of course, Charles Faulkner argued up until 1872. We finally became a part of West Virginia. But we were an evil stepchild even today. I think we're a little bit of an evil stepchild. But people did not understand that the Emancipation Proclamation exempted Berkeley from freeing slaves. Well, with the federal occupation, they were told not to interfere. They could not interfere. They could not free the slaves. They could not encourage the slaves to escape. In the meantime, Martinsburg changes hands 3 times in one day. A lot of our vital records are lost. Well, somehow along the line, Mr. Wood and John Small, who have been around since before my time, managed to find some of these records and preserve these records. You can find them at the Berkeley County Historical Society. There was time and time again where the courthouse will refer researchers to our historical society, which I think is a great honor. And we can match them up with things that you can no longer find or that you may have trouble piecing together. We have several different tools that we can use. The dreaded microfilm machine is one of those tools. I swore, in 15 months, I have been on the microfilm machine twice. And one time was to put paper in it. So a difference in generations there. We did a 5-step process when I first came into the organization, and to achieve, I used POE squared. And so POE squared is plan, organize, execute, evaluate. And that's my mantra. That was given to me by my mentor. So that's something I brought to the society. That everyone there is interested in collecting history and research, and I'm interested in POE squared. And I do get some opportunities to collect oral histories and to be able to give that data to our researchers to disseminate into publications in the future, which is a great honor. But so we came in looking at what the society had to offer. How do we transition into the electronic age? We have a totally newly designed website in-house, about a $12,000 website, done in-house free, and we have PayPal. That was incredible. Just being able to go to PayPal. You can join PayPal. You can pay for research, PayPal. You can make your research requests, pay PayPal. Now we're also beginning to give research digitally. So no longer do we have snail mail, but we can actually scan photographs, scan documents, and send them off to the research request. That was a huge development for our society. The other thing was instituting a retail manager. And by the way, these are all volunteers. I mean, you know, like you said, bringing all these personalities under one umbrella is a challenge. I guess that's kind of my challenge. So we brought in a retail manager who is doing an excellent job at turning over our stagnant inventory. And that's just her one job. We brought in a museum coordinator. During Christmas, we had over 400 visitors. But we aren't linked to downtown Martinsburg. That is a step that we're looking to develop, that we need to be hand in hand with downtown Martinsburg and part of Heritage Day, because we do bring many visitors, especially from across the country. The way that we're continuing to bring in new visitors was by rotating the displays of the museum. The museum had been the same since Miss Huntsberry, how long?
Long time. 19 years.
The 10 Commandment tablets were still in the museum. But Mr. Wood, he accepted the change gracefully, and probably due because I would come in late and leave early. But we are rotating the displays rapidly now. We have a museum curator. We're in the process of developing our archival building, which will allow us permanent storage of artifacts and materials in Berkeley County. It'll be a one-of-a-kind building in Berkeley County. In the Eastern Panhandle, it will be the only building of its type. We are currently instituting the software management for that Ascension program, the shelving, the archival materials. We're working with other groups to preserve their records, the Sons of the American Revolution, the Daughters of the American Revolution, the Daughters of the War 1812, any historical event that you could possibly, there's a group associated with it. And so we want to bring them under that cooperative umbrella. That's the way we recruit volunteers. The Sons of the American Revolution will volunteer to achieve their project. So those are some of the tools. And then and the other thing that we did was we were realistic about our audience. Everybody wants to be big. Big, big, big. And when you hold an event, you're disappointed because it's never as big as what you want it to be. And my philosophy is small. Well done and small. And I like well done and small. I'm never disappointed. I think this is a huge crowd. I mean, see, so I'm really excited. And Tracy said she was going to guilt me by being bubbly, which she's not normally bubbly. So, but I'm excited by being able to concentrate on doing things well and keeping things small. And that seems to be contagious, but having that discipline. So, changing that out, being able to wrestle away and understanding our audience. Not everyone is interested in the Civil War. I, for one, think that the Civil War is overcooked. But it's a significant part of our history. It determines who we are and the county in which we live in. So I accept that. I enjoy the railroad. I don't enjoy the railroad as much as some people, but I do enjoy the railroad. I enjoy the black history of Berkeley County. Thornton, our archaeologist, he enjoys rocks and things, and sometimes he drags me out in the field, and it's just like, oh Lord, why are we here? But then I realize that is a component of history, and that the children really respond to hands-on, to archaeology, to all these things that history, and Mr. Wood, history is genealogy, deeds, and things like that. For me, it's more of an entrepreneurial endeavor. Now, the historical resources, I'll tell you what we're doing now is we're developing smart tours. That's where we are on our website. We're developing a members-only component to our website. We're doing smart tours. So Martinsburg, as it existed in 1797, which you'll find in a book of Berkeley County, the 3 books on Berkeley County, and the 150th anniversary, I believe, has a map of Berkeley County as existed in 1797. The jailhouse is still here, the courthouse is still here, the market house is still here. We're developing smart tours so that you will be able to download on our website, you'll be able to download a walking tour of downtown Martinsburg. It's going to put a lot of pressure on our police department and safety personnel, hopefully, that people will begin to return to the downtown area in droves and be able to have crosswalks and well lit crosswalks and activities for the businesses to take advantage of. So we're doing that component of smart tours, walking tours, and then also we've developed a digitization project. So a members only benefit of our website will be you'll be able to click, say we're going to click on the McFarland House. You'll be able to see the history of the McFarland House. Well, at the end of the McFarland House, if the McFarland House will have a link, then you'll be able to click on the link to the McFarland website. So we want to partner. That's an aggressive...
And we have history on our website of the house as well. So.
Right, but you don't have what we have, see.
I don't know.
I'll bet you a dollar. You have to come down to the vault. There are things in the vault I didn't even know. Holy moly. Absolutely. You have to come and check it out. But that's what we want to partner. So any group, any historical group, that the Dillon Farm Museum, we want to be able to reach out to them. Berkeley County Historical Society is Berkeley County. It's inclusive. So we're going to make attempts in the next year to reach out. The county has agreed to post all of our historical resources on their GIS mapping. I did not think I would ever clear that hurdle. I thought that was going to be, Berkeley County is an interesting fishbowl. But they've graciously accepted to do that and to also help us develop further out the resources that are not mapped quite right yet. I would say that the new council person, Elaine Malk, for the Landmarks Commission has been integral. She brings an energy and a commitment level to Berkeley County that is refreshing. It's nice to have someone like that who drives things. So in a nutshell, there's a fear, I think an overriding fear that I have to address as president moving forward. But to be honest with you, it's a lifetime job. We hold elections, and I'm like, why am I even? But they get you in the door, and that's it. So, unless I do something really horrible, which I'm thinking, I'm trying to figure out what that is. When I'm ready to quit. But I think moving forward is the fear of becoming a siteless organization. With technology, it's not important to have a site so much anymore. You can actually be a siteless organization, and that is a big fear for the generation that got us, that sacrificed to give us the archives building, that sacrificed to give us the museum, and sacrificed to give us that permanent archival storage building. I understand that. I mean, that probably would be my fear as well. So the challenge in the next year or so will be how to balance a siteless organization with all the sites that we have, and then being able to market to the next generation. We do have volunteers starting to come in as a result of the change, but that's because the ladies there in that back corner there, and gentlemen, that's because they've been open to it. It's not because I'm a miracle worker or dynamic or any part of that. It's because they've been open to the change, and that they have received the change, sometimes kicking and screaming, and then sometimes me kicking and screaming. But they've been open to it, and I couldn't do it without the volunteers. It's the volunteers that make the organization. And the thing I like to tell people, the role of the president is to accept all the blame, take all the risks and accept all the blame, and to disperse credit where necessary. So that's really a job that I've had to learn that is very humbling, is that you made the mistake, but I'm the president. Boy, I'll send you a mean Christmas card. I'd say. Christmas card with IOU in it. But that's probably been the hardest transitional thing. And also linking with Main Street Martinsburg. But hopefully we can continue to grow that and contribute in some way, shape, or form. We don't want to be the only act in town. We want to be one of several acts in town, so that when we get tired and we want to take a break, Art Alliance can pick up the slack, or Berkeley can pick up the slack, or Preservation Alliance of West Virginia can pick up the slack and do that. It does trouble me as Landmarks Commission member the challenges Martinsburg faces with preserving their historic architecture. But that, you have to be realistic. It is expensive to maintain these buildings. It is expensive to renovate these buildings. And it really takes a concerted effort amongst multiple organizations to do that. And I try not to complain about the situation that we're in with asbestos or lead or anything like that. I just we'll reach out and try to fix what we can fix and what we can't. And that sometimes puts me at odds with hardliner preservationists. You can't save everything, but what you do save must be sustainable. So that has put me at odds with quite a few individuals probably in the passing year. Is, I'm educating myself of all the challenges of state and local history, and there's a lot of money available for planning a project. A lot of money that goes into the building of the project, but there is hardly any money for the maintenance and sustainability of the project. So what we have are a whole lot of opportunities that people aren't looking beyond what happens at completion. So, and I think Martinsburg may have a couple of those that I mentioned, but I think Martinsburg may have a couple of those projects where sustainability was not part of the equation. And that may put me at odds in the coming months with some people, is to say, you plan, you organize, you execute, and then you evaluate. So POE squared, that's it. And I would like to see a more concerted effort at the sustainability side of projects before we take them on, because there's only so much money to go around. And if we have a bunch of unfinished projects, it really doesn't do well for the fabric of the community. Any questions? Yes, sir.
One of my hats is Communications Director for the Jefferson County Historical Society. We are sightless. And I handle incoming emails and phone calls from people who want to come and visit the society. And I have to tell them, the only place you can go to do that is Berkeley County Historical Society. And so I'm a little disappointed that you're going to be going away from that, because these folks, I think we have a generation of people who want to deal with paper instead of electronic media. And until that generation is gone, you do serve a very valuable purpose in the difficult microfiche and the paper records you maintain there. It's a wonderful resource. And just a suggestion, Shepherd University has a new microfiche reading system, which is top of the line. It's not the old crank stuff. It's very nice and automated. It prints right from the keyboard. You might want to talk to folks at the Scarborough Library.
I tell you, that's a good point about you can see the transition coming, and you're right. There are the segment of the population. I don't think that we'll ever be sightless. I hope that we aren't. But I do have to admit that a majority of our business and a majority of our funds are coming from a sightless application. So our research, the generation that is interested in Grandma Helga, who lived in the Henry Crow house, she's getting on the computer. I don't have time to visit. My children have soccer, and my husband is working 12 hours on the road, but we'd really like to have this to give to our children. That's where the balancing act is. And so that brings yeah, well, it's a communication. It really puts a lot of emphasis on communication. So, yes, sir.
Todd, let me just compliment you on the effort to make it such a vital part of it. I personally think the history component of this community is going to be the driving force more than any of the others in the future, because it is, as you say, very unique. And what I was encouraged to hear you say is you're reaching out to other groups. And that seems to me to be the major problem. We have the roundhouse authority, so to speak. We have a number of property owners who are all independent, some public and some private. It seems to me that what we need is for history to become the heart and soul of the downtown, bringing people in, having restaurants that might have food at certain times, whatever else. One thing you might be interested in is that PWP is working on major tax incentives and for restoration purposes and I think your point about maintenance is a very well thought out one. And so I would encourage you to get hold of the folks. Kurt is one of the board members, but see if there might be some way to encourage people not only to restore, but also to have incentives to maintain their properties. Right now, they're disincentives to maintain the property.
I think that's a demographic problem with the capital being so far away, is that they, I appreciate the efforts of the local delegation. They've done a lot to advance us. But the pressures, the way that the tax code is written, as landmarks, our challenge is the site has to be listed on the National Register. And it's a 50-50 match, which that's fine. And then you have to throw the Secretary of Interior standards into that match. And that almost quadruples the cost of the project, which puts it out of reach for most median incomes of Berkeley County. That's a challenge, and I don't know that we're going to solve that challenge locally. The Preservation Alliance of West Virginia probably, is the best vehicle with which to do that. I'm glad that you're a part of that, and that's probably the best vehicle to address some of these issues. If there was a bit more fair formula or a more realistic formula, the economy. People say, I like the economic conditions that we're under because it makes it much more competitive, and the cream will be allowed to rise. When money is free-flowing and money is widely available, everybody has something going on and everybody is doing something, and it makes it really tough for nonprofit organization to get the manpower or to get the focus. And with the economic conditions being a little bit tougher, groups seem to be a little bit more willing to work together, to pool their resources, as you were saying earlier. Groups seem to be a little bit more willing to pool their resources and work together. So there is a benefit to this economic condition we're in, but I'm not going to say that I'm overwhelmingly happy that I'm broke.
Todd, thanks very much for
Thank you.
talking to us today.
Thank you.